Today's video, I'm kind of getting comfy and cozy because it's like an actual-ish fall day. It's rainy outside. I have my hot chocolate. Here we are. Since I got married, I've been itching to dye my hair a fun color. I haven't done it in years. The last color I did was like a rose gold pinky color. I was going to go red, but then I suddenly changed to green for whatever reason. It was a good time. The timing was good. I didn't have any big events coming up, no big productions or anything that required me to have natural hair color. But the whole thought process kind of like made me think about why it's such a big decision, such a big deal to do it in the first place. Like, it's just my hair. It's just green. It just happens to not be a color that naturally grows out of your head. So why does it seem like a big deal to me or anybody around me? So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about my thoughts and some experiences with hair dye and tattoos and piercings and how they relate to theater and the professional world. What's most intriguing to me, I think, is that if you mention the word artist to somebody, I feel like a natural stereotypical reaction is to think of someone with colorful hair and a bunch of tattoos and piercings and everything. But I'd say if there's a branch of artists that tends to do that more often, it would be like a visual artist. Everything's very different when it comes to a theater artist, where our bodies are our instruments and kind of a blank canvas for each production to paint something new on. Each character, every situation we encounter to be a new person. So being all pierced up and tattooed and having colorful hair doesn't come across as blank. So I think that's a lot of the place where it comes from, where you won't see as many theater artists getting all decked out all the time, and why it has to be a big decision what you're going to do with your body. The thing is, casting directors seem to be a bit hesitant to hire actors with things like tattoos and colorful hair and piercings, and I don't know how much of that is the whole run-of-the-mill, this is the world we live in, professionalism isn't really seen in things like that, or how much of it is just casting directors not being able to picture you in a role if you look like a beautiful alien, witchy, whatever kind of person. I personally don't find those things to be a big deal. I mean, there are simple solutions to change things, to make you a blank canvas, unless like your whole face is tattooed, or like all of your hands and like you're just covered with tattoos or like piercings all over your face. That's the main thing, is like the things that are harder to cover up. I understand that. But in general, the average person's tattooing, piercing, hair coloring has simple solutions if we need to apply it to a temporary thing like a production. So there's that. Personally, I have seen not as much myself because I color my hair once in a great while, and I only have one tattoo so far. I have a massive list. But for all my friends that do have a significant amount of tattoos, or color their hair, or have more piercings than I do, I have a good amount of those. But those people, I've seen them wear more covering clothing or makeup, or removing piercings, or thinking about whether or not it's going to be a big deal if their hair is green or pink or blue for this audition, and then change it if they really think it's going to weigh in on the decision making. They make those changes and they adapt, and I do the same thing, even though it's not such a big deal to me as a director. If someone comes in with green hair, I'm like, well, maybe we can throw a wig on that person if we really want to, or maybe we can work it in. I never want somebody to feel like they can't express themselves on a day-to-day basis just because they might be going to one audition where that hair color or even their makeup doesn't fit the part, because we can fix it. I do understand that casting directors also may be concerned with budgetary reasons, like can they get you a good enough wig for the production? Do they want to put in the time and effort for that kind of thing? Do they want to put in the time if somebody has to help you cover your tattoos, or do they want to worry about something being visible that shouldn't be? I get that as well, so we'll give that to everybody on production. Or maybe there are situations too, I don't know if this is right, wrong, what have you. I don't think it's for me to say, but there are some people that if they're from like a Latina background and they have dark hair but they dye it blonde and then they go out for Maria in West Side Story and they don't get cast because they don't look as Spanish for that specific role, Spanish, then they might not get the role because there are other girls that fit the role better and still can perform as good or better than you. So I can see where things like that can happen. Again, I'm not really certain how we should approach that as right, wrong, and indifferent. But this idea bleeds into the whole idea of judging a book by its cover and how that becomes an issue in the professional world. Across the professional board, it is rarely considered professional to have colored hair, tattoos, or piercings. People like that are labeled as irresponsible, rebellious, or even dangerous. Getting employed is much more difficult when you don't fit the normal people mold. And side note, the abnormal labeling extends to basically anyone who isn't a straight white man, but that's a whole other discussion. It's also interesting to see how people's treatment of you shifts when you make little changes like hair color. I have had green hair for just a few days, and I can tell you there's a very weird, slight change in people's demeanor and the commentary between them and I. Some people, it brings them a lot of joy to see something fun and different. Other people, it's just like a weird thing to either comment on, or I feel like they don't necessarily take me as seriously, and it depends on the environment as well. And it seems like everyone all of a sudden is allowed to have an opinion because you didn't grow that out of your head. Apparently they can say if they like it, don't like it, whatever. I'm like, I don't care if they do, but like, rude. All of this talk is just to say how tired I am of putting off creative decisions about my own body because of how society may treat me once I've done it. I am lucky that my life is moving in a direction where I can have that freedom more so. With my directing and potentially owning my own business, I am more free to look and be what I want. And part of me moving that direction was decided because of that need to be more free and creative in my own personal life. It was a small part of the decision making and moving to that. I'm also very passionate about those aspects of my life. But it's definitely a plus that I can do things like this and it doesn't matter as much. Like, I've spent so many years making a list of all these tattoo ideas that I want, things that are very personal to me, things that I think would just look beautiful on my body, and I've finally started my journey of adding them to myself, and I can't wait to get my next thing and not have a panic attack over it, thinking that I can't make it happen. And that isn't to say if you are a performer that you can't do these things. It's just you have to consider what consequences may come, because that is unfortunately the world we currently live in. But rest assured, things are changing slowly but surely. You have artists like Ramin Karimloo. Granted, I don't know if he had his tattoos before he was big and famous on Broadway, or if he got them once he was and people would still hire him regardless, but he's got tattoos all over his body and he's doing really freaking well. And then you have Sierra Boggess being a friggin' mermaid under the sea wearing her cute little belly button ring. So there are little signs like that that show things are changing for people all over the map of abnormal molds of human beings. And we just gotta keep pushing forward, pushing the envelope more. So whether you are a business owner or a freelance designer or a performer or a director, whatever, do what makes you happy. Consider there are always consequences to your actions no matter what. But never sacrifice your happiness because someone else might not like it. Okay, I'm gonna drink my hot chocolate, move on with my day, and know that I feel a little better having talked to you guys about this, and I hope you do too. Here the video ends and the work begins. Let's support each other.